His father couldn't afford a football, so he made one from garbage. On my 10th birthday, my father handed me a football made from old clothes wrapped in rope. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "It's all I could make." I hugged it like it was gold. Every afternoon I dribbled that homemade ball through dusty streets until sunset. The other kids laughed, but I imagined thousands of fans cheering my name instead. One evening my father asked, "Why practice so hard?" I smiled and said, "One day I'll play for my country and you'll never worry about money again." The next morning, a passing coach noticed me juggling the ball without letting it touch the ground. He stopped his truck, stepped out, and watched in silence. When I finally stopped, the coach smiled. "Who taught you to do that?" I pointed at my father. "He taught me to never give up." The coach's eyes softened. Before leaving, he handed me a real football. It was the first new thing I'd ever owned. I couldn't stop staring at it until disaster struck that night. Heavy rain flooded our small house while we slept. By morning, nearly everything we owned had been washed away, including my brand new football. I searched the muddy riverbank for hours, refusing to give up. Just as I was about to leave, I spotted something floating between two rocks. It wasn't the football. It was an old backpack. Inside were worn football boots that fit me perfectly and a faded note that simply read, "Never stop chasing your dream." The boots became my greatest treasure. A week later, a famous football academy announced open tryouts in the nearest city, but we couldn't even afford the bus fare. My father counted every coin we had 3 times. It still wasn't enough. He looked at me, then at our only goat, and quietly walked it toward the market. I begged him not to sell it. "We'll find another way." He smiled sadly. "Dreams don't wait, son. Sometimes fathers have to sacrifice first." The next morning, we climbed onto an old bus packed with strangers. I held my boots tightly, terrified someone might steal the only chance I had. When we reached the academy, boys stepped out of shiny cars wearing expensive kits. I looked down at my patched shorts and almost turned around. My father placed a hand on my shoulder. "They can buy jerseys," he said. "They can't buy your heart." I took a deep breath and joined the line. The first drill was dribbling through cones. One by one, players stumbled under the pressure. When my turn came, I closed my eyes for a second and imagined the dusty streets back home. The ball danced at my feet exactly as it always had. The coaches stopped talking and watched quietly. One of them wrote something on his clipboard without looking away. Then came the final challenge, a full match. 10 minutes in, the biggest boy on the field slammed into me. I crashed to the ground and my old boot split open. The referee asked if I wanted to quit. I looked toward the fence where my father stood barefoot after selling everything for this moment. "No," I said, tying my boot together with a piece of string. The whistle blew again. I limped back onto the field knowing I had only one chance left to prove I belonged. With my boot barely holding together, I stole the ball from the strongest player on the field. The crowd gasped as I sprinted toward the goal. One defender charged at me. I slipped the ball through his legs and ran around him. Even the coaches stood up from the bench. The goalkeeper rushed forward, arms spread wide. Instead of shooting, I chipped the ball over his head. Time seemed to stop. The ball kissed the crossbar, bounced once behind the goal line, and rolled into the net. The whistle echoed across the field. For a moment nobody spoke, then the coaches began clapping. I looked at my father, and tears were already running down his face. That evening, every player gathered around a notice board. One by one, names were read aloud. Mine hadn't been called yet. My heart sank as the final name echoed through the room. I lowered my head, believing my dream had ended before it began. Then the academy director stepped forward. "We have one special scholarship." He unfolded another piece of paper and smiled. He called my name. My knees nearly gave out. My father wrapped me in the biggest hug of my life while everyone around us applauded. As we packed to leave, the director handed me an envelope. "Report here on Monday," he said. "Your real journey starts now." On Monday, I hugged my father goodbye. "I'll make you proud," I promised. He smiled, but I could see he was struggling not to cry. The academy dormitory was bigger than my entire village. That first night, I lay awake listening to strangers breathe, wondering if I truly belonged there. At breakfast, the other boys laughed at my worn backpack and patched clothes. One of them whispered, "The charity kid is here." I stayed silent. My father had always told me, "Let your feet answer insults." So I walked onto the training pitch without saying a word. The head coach blew his whistle. First to finish the fitness test earns a starting spot. Everyone exploded into a sprint. Halfway through, my legs burned. The richer boys had better shoes, better food, and years of coaching. They pulled farther ahead with every step. I remembered running barefoot through dusty roads chasing my homemade football. Compared to that, this pain felt small. I kept pushing. One by one, I caught the runners in front of me. The finish line grew closer, and only one boy remained ahead. I leaned forward with everything I had. We crossed the line almost together. The coach checked his stopwatch and smiled. "You won by 1/10 of a second," he announced. The boys who had laughed at me suddenly stopped smiling, and I realized earning respect would be a much harder match. The next week, the coach announced our first league match. "Only 11 of you will start." Every player held their breath. When he read the lineup, my name wasn't on it. I forced a smile, but inside it felt like my dream was slipping away again. After practice, I stayed behind alone, juggling the ball as the sun disappeared. I reached 100 touches without letting it fall. The head coach had been watching from the tunnel. "Why are you still here?" he asked. I answered, "Because someone out there is training while I'm sleeping." The next morning, our captain twisted his ankle during warm-ups. The coach turned toward the bench. "You're starting today." My heart pounded as I stepped onto the field. Thousands of people filled the stands. I'd never heard a crowd that loud before. 5 minutes into the match, I received my first pass. I tried to dribble past a defender, but he stole the ball with ease. The crowd groaned. My teammates threw their hands in the air. One of them shouted, "Pass next time!" My confidence disappeared. At halftime, I sat alone with my head down. The coach knelt beside me and quietly said, "They gave you a jersey because of your talent. Now play like you believe it." The whistle for the second half echoed across the stadium. I stood up, tightened my boots, and decided the next 45 minutes would change my life forever. The second half began, and I stopped playing scared. Every touch felt smoother, every pass more confident. For the first time, I believed I belonged. A midfielder slipped me the ball near the halfway line. 3 defenders closed in, but I remembered weaving through the narrow paths of my village. I cut left, then right, leaving 2 defenders behind. The crowd rose to its feet as I sprinted toward the penalty box. The goalkeeper charged off his line. I could shoot, or pass to my teammates standing completely unmarked beside me. I squared the ball across the box. My teammate tapped it into the empty net. We took the lead, and he pointed straight at me. The final whistle blew. We had won 1-0. My teammates lifted me onto their shoulders, cheering my name all the way to the locker room. That night, I called my father. The phone crackled with static, but I heard him laughing. "I knew you could do it, son." Then his voice grew quieter. "Don't worry about me. Just keep chasing your dream." Before I could answer, the call suddenly ended. I tried calling back again and again, but there was no signal. A strange feeling settled in my chest, and I couldn't sleep that night. The next morning, the academy director walked into class holding his phone. His face was serious. "You need to come with me. It's about your father." My legs felt weak as I followed the director to his office. 100 terrible thoughts raced through my mind before he even spoke. He handed me the phone. It was my neighbor from the village. His voice was shaking. "Your father collapsed while working in the fields." I begged the academy to let me go home. The director nodded immediately and bought me the first bus ticket he could find. The journey felt endless. Every minute I stared out the window, praying I wouldn't be too late. When I reached the village clinic, my father smiled the moment he saw me. He looked tired, but his eyes still carried the same warmth. The doctor pulled me aside. "He's exhausted from years of hard labor. His heart is weak, he needs rest, but he refuses to stop working." That night, I found my father trying to repair our old fence by lantern light. "Bubba, please," I said. "You need to rest." He smiled and put the hammer down. "If I stop now, how will I pay for your dream?" His words hit me harder than any tackle. I took his rough, worn hands in mine. "You already paid for it. Every sacrifice you've made is the reason I'm here." The next morning, I returned to the academy carrying more than my football boots. I carried a promise. One day my father would never have to work another day in his life. Back at the academy, I trained harder than ever. Every morning before sunrise, I was already on the field, chasing the dream my father sacrificed everything for. Months passed, and my name started appearing on the team sheet more often. The same boys who laughed at me began asking me for advice. Then the coach announced something huge. "The National Youth Tournament begins next month. Scouts from professional clubs will be watching." My heart raced. This was the moment every young player dreamed about. One great tournament could change my entire future. But during training, a teammate named Leo started playing dangerously against me. Every tackle became harder. Every challenge became personal. After practice, Leo blocked my path. "You think you're special because everyone likes your story? Football isn't about stories. It's about winning." I looked him in the eyes. "Then let's win together." He laughed and walked away, but I knew the rivalry had only started. The tournament arrived. The stadium was packed, and cameras followed every player. I searched the crowd, hoping to see my father. He wasn't there. I tried not to think about it, but the empty seat felt heavier than any defender I had ever faced. The referee raised his whistle. The biggest match of my life began, and within 30 seconds, Leo was taken down inside the box. The referee pointed to the penalty spot. Everyone expected Leo to take the shot, but he looked at me and handed me the ball. I was shocked. "Why me?" I asked. Leo answered quietly, "Because you've earned it." The rivalry between us disappeared in that moment. I placed the ball down and heard the crowd roar. My hands shook as I remembered my father's homemade football from years ago. The goalkeeper jumped left. I calmly placed the shot into the opposite corner. Goal. The stadium exploded with noise. The tournament became a battle. Every game was harder, but every game brought us closer to the final. Before the championship match, I finally received a message from home. My father was too weak to travel, but he had watched every game. The message said, "I may not be in the stands, but my heart is beside you on that field." I held back tears as I walked onto the pitch. The final was against the strongest academy in the country. Early in the game, their defender crashed into me. I fell badly, and pain shot through my ankle. The coach ran toward me. "Can you continue?" I looked at the scoreboard, then at my father's messages on my phone. "I have to." I stepped back onto the field with my ankle wrapped tightly. Every movement hurt, but I refused to let pain decide my future. The other team noticed my injury and attacked my side constantly. They thought I was the weakness on our team. But every time they came near, I remembered running through my village with no shoes and a ball made from scraps. With 10 minutes left, we were losing 2-1. Our championship dream was disappearing right in front of us. Then Leo intercepted the ball and shouted, "Run!" I sprinted forward as the entire stadium held its breath. He passed me the ball through 3 defenders. Suddenly, I was alone in front of the goal. The goalkeeper rushed toward me. My ankle screamed, but my mind heard my father's voice. "Never stop chasing." I lifted the ball over the goalkeeper. It flew through the air slowly, like time had stopped. The ball hit the net. The score was tied. My teammates ran toward me, and even the opposing players applauded. In extra time, one final attack began. Scouts stood from their seats as I prepared for the most important play of my life. The ball came toward me near the halfway line. The clock showed only 30 seconds left. One chance. One moment. I pushed forward, but 3 defenders surrounded me. The crowd became silent, waiting to see what I would do. Instead of forcing my way through, I remembered what football had taught me. I passed the ball back to Leo and kept running. The defenders followed me, leaving space behind them. Leo saw it instantly and sent the perfect pass between them. I controlled the ball with my injured ankle. The pain disappeared. All I saw was the goal in front of me. The goalkeeper rushed out. I could hear thousands of people screaming, but inside my head there was only silence. I shot with everything I had. The ball flew past the goalkeeper and into the corner of the net. The final whistle blew. We were champions. My teammates lifted me into the air as cameras flashed everywhere. After the match, professional scouts surrounded me. One offered me a contract with a top club. My dream was finally becoming real. Before signing anything, I looked at my phone. There was one message from my father. "Come home first. I need to tell you something." I arrived at my village carrying the championship medal around my neck. Everyone ran toward me, but I only searched for one person. My father was sitting outside our small house. He looked older than I remembered, but his smile was exactly the same. He hugged me tightly. "You did it, son." I shook my head. "No, Baba, we did it." Then he handed me a small wooden box. "I kept this for you since your 10th birthday. Inside was my first football. The one made from old clothes and rope." My hands trembled as I held it again. My father smiled. "I knew that ball wasn't special because it was perfect. It was special because it made you believe." I signed my professional contract, but I made one request. I wanted my first salary to build a football field in our village. Months later, children who once played on dusty roads were training on a real pitch. I saw myself in every one of them. Years later, I stood in a World Cup stadium wearing my country's jersey. Millions watched as I walked onto the field. Before the whistle, I pulled out that old rope football from my bag, kissed it, and looked into the crowd. My father was there, smiling. The boy with a garbage ball had finally become a legend.